Welcome to Hazy 2 Clear TV from Buffalo, New York. Our discussion today is about Ukraine. I'm Josh Veronica, joined today by Michael Kahn, Ryan Hillary, David O'Sullivan, and Jack Boyd. Ryan, you want to tell us about what's going on in Ukraine right now?
So in Ukraine, Russia wants to keep control of Ukraine as is in the Cold War, and Ukraine ousted their former president and is now trying to place a new president. So Russia is getting angry and they want to intervene and take back control of Ukraine, and Obama has said that he will intervene if Russia does anything. So currently the USA is at odds with Russia if Russia wants to do anything with Ukraine.
And Michael, how have the Ukrainian people responded to this?
Well, actually, they were actually a more pro-Western population. I mean, they did break apart from the Soviet from the Soviet Union. But I would say that right now, based on what happened in the past, the so-called Arab Spring has been kind of a disaster in a lot of places, including Egypt, Libya, and so on. So it seems like, yes, this is exactly the place that would love Western influence, and they probably do. But do we know who the rebels are? Are they funded? Is Russia having influence on them? We have to keep all these in mind, so it's a tough call.
I think it's more likely that ultimately these rebels are going to be, pro-U.S., pro-Western Europe, more in the interest of the U.S., just based on the fact that they're pro-EU. These are people who want to join the European Union, and they're going against people who want to be more part of partners with Russia. So I think that ultimately a rebel victory would be more in U.S. interests, but I think that we can all agree on the fact that it would kill stability in that country to have, one people rise up and revolt, and then soon probably another people are going to rise up and revolt, and it's just definitely not a good thing for Ukraine ultimately.
What I'm getting sick of with this whole foreign policy thing is Obama will say he will do something, as in Syria, and he'll take action, as in he's saying he'll do something against Russia if Russia acts, but then he doesn't do anything.
Well, Syria was a little bit of a different case because of the huge, massive opposition. I think that he responded.
Yeah, I understand
to
that, but I'm just saying that he
Libya was
doesn't.
sort of a different case where he did act. So he's willing to act if there's not huge public outcry against it. And I guess that's really what a president with a public mandate should do.
He said there was a red line in Syria. That never happened. We never went in. He said there will be consequences for Ukraine. Okay, we'll see about that. He always says things and doesn't do it, and that's why Putin's a much stronger leader than Obama. That's why we're looked down upon in the world. A new Gallup poll came out saying less Americans trust him think he's a respected world leader than ever before in his administration. It's exactly because things like this. He said there'll be consequences and nothing happens. The problem is not Ukraine, it's Obama. You can't trust him on national security because he makes a mockery of it. Exactly what we've seen in Libya, Syria.
Now, we know there's been riots in Kiev, violence. President Yanukovych has fled, and there's a warrant out for his arrest. What does the future look like for Ukraine?
Bright. I'm going to say bright. Honestly, these rebels, I think they know what they're going to do. I think they have an idea. They have our ideology where they want to be in control. They want, a Western civilization. If they can do that, if they have support from Obama, I agree with you on Obama, then their future is going to be.
What do you want us to do?
I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one, actually. I don't think that, and you can look at it with the Arab Spring, you can look at it with what happened in Egypt. I mean, ultimately, revolt nowadays, when it's not an overwhelming majority of the population, that hasn't really worked too well. I mean, you can look at revolutions. I mean, really, ours, the American Revolution, is one of the only ones that has been extremely successful. Look at all the other countries with revolutions where they've completely overthrown the government and changed hands. Look at the instability of South America. Now you can look at Venezuela now as a similar problem there, where they were a country with a socialist revolution. You can look at Egypt with all the problems they're having. Revolts nowadays, they're really not looking too bright. They're not looking in a good situation.
Yeah, I think Jack is probably right, but I mean, the fact is this president really wasn't liked by either side. But I do agree with him that it's kind of hard to tell in these revolts. But I'm asking both of you, because so against like President Bush and all his military, what do you propose to do? Because you said the future would be bright. Not if we let Russia get involved and take it over back to the Eastern Bloc. What is your? You said it's going to be bright. What should Obama do?
Well, I think that Obama should speak softly and carry a big stick. I mean, he has taken action in the past. He said he was going to go out of Iraq. He got out of Iraq. He said he was going to leave Afghanistan. He's leaving out of Afghanistan. He went into Libya. There is the one example of Syria, but I think that was a very, very special case because of the public outcry by people like the Republicans, who now criticize him for listening to what they were saying. So I just feel like he can't have it both ways.
Well, Libya is worse off now, though, than it was with even Gaddafi, especially with the relationship with Israel. But I'm still asking you, what do you think President Obama should do? You say that you say the future will be bright. Should we use military force on Ukraine? Because where were you in Iraq in 2003? Where were you in Afghanistan when President Bush invaded? You're saying now to take action if President Obama says so.
Not saying we should
what happened
invade.
when thousands of people were being killed by Saddam Hussein?
I'm saying we should be willing to provide support should Russia intervene. We should
They will intervene.
make good on our threat. Why? That's not necessarily.
I just think that America as a whole is getting sick of the United States trying to get into policies in other countries. Like, why do we have to be involved in Russia and Ukraine's fight?
What's the U.S. interest?
Our
Yeah,
economic
why-
interest.
what- yeah,
with them
what is our
joining
interest
The
with
EU
it?
and us being allied
Russia's
with the EU.
already against us. What do they have? Snowden, who's against the United States.
They're making a mockery of Obama. They have
This is
Snowden.
true.
They intervene in Iran, and they have an influence. Now they have interference in Ukraine. I mean, it's like Putin's controlling the world stage when it used to be the United States of America.
It's more of a Putin's loss of control when you consider that the people are revolting in the streets against a government that's in support of him. That they don't want to be aligned with Putin. So I don't think that's an example of Putin gaining control of the world. I think it's quite the opposite.
That's not our problem. It's Ukraine and Russia's problem.
And you say Ukraine is in U.S. interest, but if we didn't forget, Saddam Hussein threatened to assassinate a former president of the United States. He killed thousands of his own people. There were connections with him getting nuclear weapons and connections to 9/11. But where were you on that? But now you're saying, all I'm saying is President Obama and the Democrats are being very hypocritical here. They say they want to intervene somehow, consequences of something in Ukraine.
We're just saying
but
we
then
don't
when
need
it comes-
military force. Okay, that there is no need for military force in this
So
situation.
what do you expect to do? There's a revolution now. What do you expect?
Just so that you're gonna
not necessarily force, not necessarily boots on the ground, but support.
Well, how
you can
support?
You can economic support, and you can send weapons. I mean, you go back
Sup-
to the
kind of
go
support
back
like
to
the rebels
go back
we
to
did
Teddy
in Egypt.
Roosevelt with the burning house.
So obviously there's numerous
Teddy
political
Roosevelt.
issues, surrounding the situation. There's Russia's relationship with Ukraine. There's the Ukrainian people and their government. Whatever's going to happen with that. What is the best thing the United States can get out of this situation?
I think the United States just needs to stop meddling in foreign affairs where there's no interest for them. I don't see an interest for them with Russia and Ukraine. We're not great allies with Russia. Russia doesn't like us. Ukraine isn't a powerhouse in Europe. I don't see the interest, and it's just hurting our economy and making us look like fools when Obama says he will do something and doesn't do anything, or he acts in such a way that hurts us more than it would have.
Everyone laughed when Mitt Romney said that Russia was one of our greatest geopolitical threats, but it's actually turned out to be true, and especially under this president, Putin's having a much higher dominance on the world stage than ever before. And I would say that Obama says he wants to get involved in Ukraine, but again, if we're going to get involved, we'll get involved. But he's not going to just say consequences, and then we're all supposed to fall in line to whatever he has in mind, and then we'll end up with Muslim Brotherhood like in Egypt getting control, or radical Islam.
I would disagree. I think that
Egypt,
Where are you getting Muslim Brotherhood in Ukraine?
Radical Islam controls
I don't know
Egypt
where that
now
came
because
from.
of Obama. Radical Islam controls Egypt because of Obama.
But not Ukraine.
no, all I'm
We're
saying.
talking about Ukraine.
No, I know. I'm saying, but like radical forces and the rebels, who could be much worse than the current president, who could be much worse for the people, the president who just left, could result from this. But just like President Obama happened in Libya, my point is, you really can't trust him when it comes to these issues. So either stay out or get involved. But you're saying kind of.
We also
you're saying
weren't
mixed
sure
message.
who was going to support us in Libya. We weren't sure who was going to ultimately end up supporting us in Syria. We're pretty sure who's going to end up supporting us if we support this rebel cause. They want to join the EU. The EU is in alliance with the United States.
So
They
did
are in
Iraq.
our interest.
So are the Iraqi people.
But this is Western, and that's so
Well,
much
Iraqi
different
people
from the Middle
are
East.
very
You can't be
pro-Western.
comparing the Middle East to
No, no,
Europe.
no,
It's
no.
just not
The
comparable.
Iraqi
They're two
people were
completely different regions.
one of the most pro-Western peoples in the Middle East, the Iraqi people. So
Dave,
I
any final thoughts on this?
Where are you getting that from?
this is a really sticky situation in the fact that, again, we don't know what's going to happen if we do get involved by just showing our support, or if we do get involved with troops on the ground. We can't put troops on the ground because it could backfire. It could backfire completely on us, just like it did in Afghanistan, where now the people don't want us there. We don't want to be there. We're pulling out. As far as what we should do, I think what we really need to do is just show our support for the rebels, because obviously that's who's going to back us. You can't disagree with that. They are. And it's just going to take its way from there.
But President Obama escalated troops in Afghanistan. My point is, he kind of does the opposite of what needs to be done.
These are two different completely things.
You just said to pull out of Afghanistan because the people don't want us. He escalated troops in Afghanistan.
and he's
All right,
withdrawing
that's all we
now.
have for today. I'm Josh Veronica. Thanks for watching Hazy 2 Clear TV.